Diabetes is a growing health problem in the United States that has risen six-fold since 1940, now affecting 23.6 million Americans. This year, more than 86,000 of them will undergo diabetes-related amputation.
Well, it affects the feet in a number of ways. One is the circulation, what we call the microcirculation. Your main arteries come down to feed the feet, but they branch off into smaller and smaller arteries and ultimately into the capillaries. Well, the smaller arterioles, the small arteries, tend to get plugged up. And so some patients will have a nice foot pulse. You can feel their heart beating in their pulse of their feet. But their end arteries, those that feed the nerves, those that feed the skin, those that feed the other structures, muscles, tendons, become plugged, and then that's when they develop neuropathies, meaning they don't feel the way they should feel. Unless they have a spouse that can examine their feet on a regular basis, they'll go about their business, and until a crisis situation where they do develop an infection or an ulcer or some kind of wound that tends to progress over time, and by the time they do notice it, sometimes it's a blood spot on the floor that they'll see, just and they wonder what that is, and then they'll realize it's coming from their own foot. Well, oftentimes they're in denial in the sense that they'll say it can't be that bad, and I just noticed it the other day, and yet it could have been coming on for weeks for that matter. And so, and sometimes they'll come in because their toe is turning a little black and they're not sure what that is, and it's like the infection has spread and there's gangrene, and it's like it's an emergency situation. We don't want to wait weeks. We have to go that day oftentimes.
Diabetes is the leading cause of lower extremity amputations in the United States. An estimated 25% of diabetics will develop serious wounds on their feet.
By the time I had gone to the doctor with it, it just got to the point where it was now, I had probably 8 different infections. Some were life-threatening, some were others, and it was getting into the bone. My first thing was to try whatever they could to save as much of the foot they could. And when it got down to the point that really what was left of the foot wasn't usable, the decision was made to take the leg off. About 2 years later, the infections that I had came back out in the other toe. And a lot of people get in trouble because they don't feel a blister or they don't feel something, and it gets infected, and then that's when you start having major problems. And again, statistically with diabetics, they're more likely to have some kind of amputation or some kind of severe trauma like that.
In 2007, an estimated $174 billion was spent on diabetes. That's 1 out of 10 healthcare dollars spent in the United States. Every year, the cost of diabetes in the United States goes up $8 billion from the last year.
Well, there's obviously surgery. You have to not only the surgery itself, but the hospital fees, the anesthesiologist, and the follow-up. And there's, yeah, the fees are in the hundreds of thousands of dollars when you start to think about the hospitalization for several days or maybe several weeks.
This is a foot inspection console. The primary purpose of this device is early detection and treatment of blisters, ulcers, and other wounds so that serious complications such as gangrene could be avoided in individuals with diabetes. How this console works is the user, in the sitting position, looks forward into an angled mirror, which gives a view of their foot. Surrounding their foot are other angled mirrors that are magnified. This allows the individual to view and inspect their entire foot clearly from every angle from a comfortable sitting position without assistance. It is designed to be used by individuals in the privacy of their own home and also in healthcare settings such as doctors' offices. Both the doctor and the patient can view the foot simultaneously, allowing the doctor to better communicate his or her observations of the feet.
Like for me, I can see you get the whole thing, and then viewing it from this angle, you definitely see it a lot better than. I think this would definitely be helpful for those patients. You know, it's really the patients that are just kind of, like I say, in denial. They just don't believe that their disease is that serious. And so something like this is, like I say, the picture kind of drives the point home. They need to take care. They need to start to step up to the plate and say, hey, I have to really take charge of my life and my diet and my exercise and examining my feet. I always say the old saying, a picture's worth 1,000 words. You know, you can tell them how bad it is, but when they see it, that definitely drives the point home.
With this, I can get a full view of my foot without having to bend over, or I can look at all sides of the foot. and you can tell if you got an area that's infected coming up. I can see that's the area where the incision was done, where they sewed back up for the toes, and you can tell if there's any infection in there by looking at this.
But there are those occasions when they come in and they're like, well, where have you been? You know,
Yeah, I can see.
Why did you wait so long? Well, I didn't feel it, I didn't see it, I didn't know there was anything there, you know. So, yeah, this definitely has an application for sure. Another tool in the armamentarium of trying to you know, educate the diabetic and save limbs.
The estimated yearly cost of diabetes-related amputations is $3 billion. Most of these could be prevented.